ethically incomplete subjects, and we need to manage them and civilize them. So this was the first idea why they needed cultural policy. So the earliest cultural policy are things like public education, to demonstrate to the people that their values are not correct, they are naughty, they are selfish, they are so on and so forth. Right? They are ethically incomplete. You make them aware of their tendencies and their follies, and their faults, their inadequacies, and to tell them that, you know what, you are ethically incomplete and you are recurrently and disastrously like that. This sounds very familiar, but all schools tell you that. At school, Fan Houjian is responsible for doing that, right? They tell you that you're not proper enough, we need to mold you and make you proper. Right? So this is the earliest ideas of cultural policy, is really a kind of policing. Also, you know, from a more Europe that is organized around the church and values based on Christianity. More and more, the new nation states, modern nation states, no longer rely on religion as a basis for morality, but to rely on law as a basis for morality. So more and more, those values that once we understand through Christian morality is more and more translated into a more secular language. Right? I would call it like a secular theology. And these are derivatives of religious morality into secular framings and articulations. And these are also put into education, discipline, and punishment. And so, at first, cultural policy and cultural funding and support for cultural policy is substantial. It's a means to construct a national cultural identity, to construct the people of a nation, to make you feel like a national entity. It's to utilize comparatively recent literacy of the people and their new freedoms in a double move, to make them participate more, contribute more to society, and feel more loyalty towards allegiance and participation. It's also a way to emphasize the pleasures of the people more than really upgrading their aesthetic elitism. Right? It is more about keeping people happy and well managed. So entertain them, well managed. So entertain them rather than really making them more and more culturally literate. So more and more it's about 文娛康樂, right? Entertainment, 娛樂. So a more popularized kind of idea of culture. And as a social sentiment management. And it's also about improving the character, the responsibility, and the sense of community and belonging of the people. But this also gradually shifts to what we are more familiar with today. In a more and more globalized form of capitalism, there is a shift towards increasing not your character, responsibility, sense of community and sharing as a good citizen, but more as a competitive citizen. And it's increasingly towards, cultural policy is moving towards making you a good citizen, to making you a competitive citizen. You don't have to be good, but so it's about competitiveness and no longer about being ethical, moral, and good. So it's a major shift in cultural policy. From, first of all, making you manageable, obedient, tame, to making you good, to making you competitive. So it's a big sea change in Western ideas and paradigms of culture. And more we have a privileging of rationality in the McDonald sense, right? The McDonaldization of society. We become very logical, rational, predictable, standardization, right? So predictability, standardization, efficiency, consistency, all hamburgers taste the same anywhere in the world. Right? All McDonald's hamburgers taste the same. It's made the same. It's very predictable, very standardized, very efficient, very consistent, very rational. rather than being creative, liberal, humane, equal, or communitarian, right? Sense of sharing. You don't need all these things. Right? So these things are no longer, these humanistic and social values are less and less important. Whereas the competitive values like predictability, standardization, efficiency, consistency, these are more valued. Logistics is more important than how good and the quality of the product. Right? And you excel in logistics. You no longer excel in design. You no longer need to worry about all these things. Right? You worry about the logistics, and you're proud of your logistics. You're no longer proud of what you make, or what you design, what you create. So it's a very, very big shift in values in cultural policy. And this is a move from Enlightenment values with liberty, equality, freedom, creativity, to a technocratic and centralist idea of management. Right? From Enlightenment to management. Now this is how we're really moving towards our present condition. In other classes, I will elaborate more why it is called neoliberal values, neoliberalization. It's not liberal in the sense of being free. Neoliberal is free market, freedom to buy, to choose to consume, but not necessarily the other freedoms. Okay? So neoliberalization, marketization of culture. And you might be very familiar with ideas like the small government, big market. These are all these ideas behind this kind of policy. Right? So the market replaced the state as the system for identifying and allocating public preferences for culture. And denying the state a role other than as a police officer patrolling the space or property. Right? The government only manage and patrol and police the venues where things happen. They don't care about the content anymore. Right? So culture is given to the values of profit and popular taste, populism as well. And we have already discussed popular taste can be good or bad. The monetarization, right, using money to calculate and evaluate heritage and culture. That's capitalism as the dominant culture and cultural value. It's not that we don't have a culture. We have. Our culture is called capitalism. Don't say that Hong Kong is a cultural desert. Hong Kong is very full of culture. It's just called capitalism. So it's and if you do go that way, right? A lot of culture that used to be valued in other systems of values would be destroyed. Right? There will be a maelstrom with destruction of all sorts. The most recent case would be Guilin, right? Where you actually, Dinghua Chonggung was made there. The film called The Many Splendid Things. A lot of, and in all of southern Cantonese Guangdong, China, there are only one or two such structures still left. And we have just allowed one property owner to destroy one of them. So this is a long story. So this is one of the things and one of the projects you can think about. Applying these ideas we are learning to analyze how such a case like England could happen in Hong Kong, what went wrong in cultural policy. So that would be a very good paper. Okay? So, and also cultural class. The idea not only of marketization of culture, but also the creation of cultural class and cultural capital discrimination. Now, what is that? That is a division of labor for efficiency, right? So that we need a division of labor. We have the small market, big government division of labor. And what it creates is a kind of discrimination through cultural class and cultural capital, not just economic class and economic capital. So the market is now given the responsibility to provide, to gauge public taste, to provide entertainment for public taste.